this is going to be non-interactive, I mean, in a way that you don't have to follow along. So please just watch the video, learn what's going on. At any point, if you have any questions, just put them in the ask a question box below. This helps us later on to tag the exact time frame when it was answered, so that you can just later on, as you watch the replay, you can just click on the question and it'll take you to that part of the video. We are now going to go into elevator music mode for 3 or 4 minutes. So play something, play some theme music for yourself or some sauna music until we're back, and we'll let people join based on the email that was just sent out. Be right back. There we go. A nice round number, 100 people. So let's take this away. Reminder, this will be recorded. You can watch after the fact. This is also being multi-streamed to YouTube. But to the people at YouTube, on YouTube, we do not see your comments. So if you want to ask a question, if you want to ask something, please join us in Crowdcast, where you can put it into the ask a question box or into the comments stuff. Also, if you've input your KSM address while signing up for this, you might get an NFT later. Yuri, take it away.
Yeah, hi. So as Bruno said, you don't have to follow along. It's better not to, because it's going to be too distracting. It's better to try to follow along later using Cryptplace, and we'll also publish this code as a repo. So can you hear me well? Someone message in the chat that my microphone works well?
Works well, it's good.
Okay. So yeah, so I will just dive into it. I will not be explaining to you what is RMRK and how does it work. I can, however, give a quick remark on an RMRK that there are some things that are not ideal, not scalable in long term. That's why we are hiring more devs to help us speed up by moving RMRK logic on-chain. We need more help on all fronts, and at the moment mostly front-end, but also Solidity or Rust developer. You can find some of our job listings here at our GitHub repo under RMRK Web. I can post it in comments actually. So yeah, so I can just dive into it. Yeah, so I'm starting with a blank project completely. We will be creating an NFT called nested NFT called Chunky. So yeah, so I'll create a new folder here called projects, because I'll have a couple of projects in the same folder. And yeah, I'll make another one called scripts, and oops.
Share your screen.
I'm not? Shit. Sorry about that. Can you see it?
You're gonna have to zoom in quite a lot.
I see. Phew. Okay. Let's see. Maybe I'll just do terminal window. Is it
No, you're gonna
more
have to zoom in on that one as well, because it's not full screen on the Crowdcast unless people make it.
okay?
Just zoom in. There you go, perfect, very good.
Right. So what do we have here? Yeah. So we create a folder called scripts and another one called demo. Okay, and we go to scripts and start new VRM project. It's going to be RMRK demo scripts. Yeah. I can fill this later. So do not type this again because I have these things prepared. I'll copy it over. So yeah, we have some boilerplate things here. Pinata SDK for IPFS uploading, some Polkadot utilities, and .env to manage environmental variables, and RMRK tools, of course, TypeScript. So I'm gonna copy TypeScript config as well. How to zoom in WebStorm? Let's see.
It's also probably Control Plus.
No, it's not actually. So that's why
Weird.
Confused. Zoom. It's what? Command Shift equal? Still not doing it. I can probably increase my font size.
Isn't that Alt and Command and something?
Nope. Okay. Let's see font size. No. Is it so small that's hard to see?
It's still too small, yeah. You need to like
Let's see.
increase by 5 levels or so.
WebStorm zoom.
Alex says you can do the zoom in gesture on your Mac trackpad.
I don't have one. I have Mac Mini.
There you go. All right, and
So-
Tomasz says control, or what is that? Control and mouse wheel.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's try. No. What?
No, he says you have to go to settings, search for zoom, and then check the option change font size with control mouse wheel.
All right. Let's see.
So it's settings and then search for zoom and select editor. It's in the editor. Editor, not key map, editor. Yeah. And
What the fuck?
yeah, here. I think that
No, this is some zoom one thing. It's for quick.
click on just editor at the top level. Yeah. Okay. So here.
No,
No?
I don't think it's this. Okay. I think it's this one. But it's shift. But I tried this already.
So intuitive.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to figure it out because we can't see anything.
Okay, so what's this?
Martin says try presentation mode.
In WebStorm.
Yes. That should be under view somewhere.
Let's try.
This is good.
But now I can't see any of my panels. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're gonna have to figure out how to zoom in.
Yeah. How do I see my file folders? Fuck. Let's see what else is here. Okay, let's quickly try this. Shift, what's this? Shift, whatever is this one, and A.
If you go to key map, there's actually decrease font size, increase font size, and reset font size editor actions. But they're not mapped, so you have to map them.
Okay, let's try.
Remove. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Is it visible enough?
Yeah, the code part is, the folder is not, but they're not important.
All right, so yeah, where were I? I'm gonna copy, so I'm copying tsconfig. It's pretty basic, nothing special here. And then I copied also gitignore and environmental. So this is, don't worry about this. This is my personal Pinata key that I created, and I will remove it after this demo. But basically what you do is you can use, we use Pinata, but you don't have to use Pinata. You just need something to pin to IPFS. No, not Bruno's account. Basically, yeah, you go to your API keys, you create one. I create one for the demo, and then I copied my secret, and it's here. For this demo, I use Alice as some mnemonic key. So this is like when you start local chain, this is the default one of the accounts you can use that has KSM. And yeah, that's basically it. So now we'll copy the assets. So we start with assets. So I have a chunky assets that Paola prepared for me, so we can see what's here. Oh, there is no preview. I might be able to show you a preview. Yeah, so it's here. So we have chunky here. This is the like remark one or just dump NFT kind of preview that we will use, just like a thumbnail kind of thing, or we're gonna use it for collection thumbnail as well. Now this is the secondary art, this badass secondary art that this NFT will have, and then so we have some body parts that we will use to compile the SVG from. So these are the fixed parts. There's 3 types of parts, fixed parts, which is body, hands, and head, and 4 variations of each. And there are items also, which will be used as nested NFTs. So we have like a bone, left and right, hand, and another, then the thumbnail for it. Then we have a flag and a thumbnail, pencil and a thumbnail, and a spare in the thumbnail. So we have assets for this demo, so it's easier. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just upload whole folder. I'm not gonna use any scripts to upload the initial assets. not this one. Yeah, this one actually. So okay, I'm gonna just upload whole chunky folder. I'm gonna call it RMRK2 demo chunky.
While Yuri is uploading that, I will answer the question about using your own local IPFS daemon for minting. Yeah, you can use your own IPFS node, but we will very soon add, because we have no guarantee that you will keep that item pinned, it is kind of exposing us to risk that you rug pull other people by stopping the pinning of that IPFS file. And so we will be implementing flags soon, which will say on NFTs that it's pinned and secured by us versus standalone hosted. But yes, you can absolutely host IPFS content on your own node. There's no need to use Pinata.
Okay, so yeah, I created a constants folder where I'm gonna keep some constants, and there is some boilerplate things here.
It's zoomed out again.
Again? Is it per window? I think it's per window. So I'll have to zoom out in every window. So we'll use a local node here, and so yeah, so this is the Pinata content ID. We can verify it. We have our own RMRK gateway, but you can use public. You should use public gateway or your own Pinata gateway. So we can verify that it's uploaded. Whole folder. Oh, there is even this rogue file in here. But basically, yeah, all files and folders even are there. So we can start building. So we will start with first script, which is called create base. Now, base is the new entity in RMRK2 that is created on-chain alongside NFTs and collections. So before you had NFTs and collections, and then one is referencing Kanaria, so each NFT is related to some collection. And now we have the third one, which is base. It's not being displayed on its own in any way, but you can reference base. Someone is slacking me very patiently. I'm gonna close it. But you can reference base as an NFT resource, and this will tell you how to display this. Yeah, there's some instructions on how it's displayed. Currently, we have one type of base, which is SVG, and we have a SVG base composer written in like a React component that has some instruction how to compile it. So I'll draw some kind of thing here. I don't know how clear it is, but basically, if you have NFTs and collections, and now you have another one called base, and you can add base as a resource to the NFT. It's one of the resources. Another type of resource is like secondary art. Before, NFTs and Ethereum NFTs have just one resource, for example, which is just one image, and we have array of resources that we can add to NFTs. We can add them post factum, kind of after the NFT is minted, but you cannot remove them. And one of the type of the resource that you can add is base. So you're referencing a base in the NFT. And when you do this, you can, there is another one. Base can have all the parts for all chunkies. For example, if I want to mint 10,000 chunkies and they have like 500 variations of the body, there is like green body, red body, then there is like a bloated one and speckled one, and etc. We can list them all here at the base creation, so it acts as a catalog. And then when you add this base resource to NFT, you just cherry pick the parts that you want on this particular chunky. So when you do resource add, you pick just part 2, part 3, and it's being added to this NFT resource. So you reference in a resource, you reference this base. It's kind of new concept to wrap your head around, but hopefully looking at code might be a bit clearer. So we start with just creating the first script.
So just as an additional clarification, a base is like a list of all the possible parts, and from the permutations of those parts, you can get NFTs. So it's like if you have a base will have a list. For Kanaria, for example, a base will have a list of, like a zombie wing, water wing, tornado wing, and so on. And then as you build an NFT that inherits from a base, that NFT will specify which parts it takes on itself. So you, as you're minting the NFT, you tell it, okay, you have a water wing, a tornado wing, or like a fire chest, and so on. So it's like Yuri said, like a catalog of all possible options, and you pick from those to build your NFT project.
So I didn't install my script, my packages. That's why I couldn't understand that I have a TypeScript project. So I'm gonna install the packages I added to dependencies, but I can continue meanwhile. Okay, so we will come back to this later. So we can start. Oh, I need to open another one. I have my reference here. So we can start by defining JSON with all the parts for the base. And actually, I already have it, so I'm not gonna just waste everyone's time retyping it. So yeah, so this is now called, so I'll have to rename it. So this is the reference to the Pinata content ID. And this is the TypeScript type.
You have to zoom in again.
Right. Okay, so basically these are all the fixed parts. So we have 4 types of body, and each of those types have 3 fixed parts, which is hands, body, and head.
Zoom in some more, please.
So we have chunky body 1, chunky body 2, chunky body 3, and so 4 parts of bodies. This is the part that will, so the base has an array of parts, of all node parts, and this is how the part looks like. There's a Z index, so because this is the base of type SVG, we need to instruct it how was the Z index, was the stack order of nested SVGs. It goes on top of each other because body is the lowest one, and then hands are overlaid on top of it when you visually place the layers. So 4 types of bodies, then there are 4 types of heads, and 4 types of hands. So these are the fixed parts. And then we have 2 slot parts. Slot part is a part where you can equip the nested NFT in. So it doesn't have to have any image, but if you want, you can actually add a fallback image to it. So when nothing is equipped, this will be displayed, but we don't need it in this case. So in example of Kanaria, the gems, the background has a fallback. So even if you unequip any background you have, you will still see some background. There is default background all the time. And gems as well. When you unequip all gems, you still see this empty kind of slot with a plus. So this would go here on a slot type part. Source would reference this fallback image. So equippable is array of collections of whitelisted collections that are allowed to be equipped in this slot. And yeah, Z index. So the object goes after the next layer after the body, and then the hands kind of overlay in it. So to make it look like he's holding something and the object is under the hands. You'll see it in action later. And then again have some boilerplate code, which is like initializing Polkadot stuff. So we'll have to copy those utilities now. This we have. This is imported from Polkadot. This we need to copy. So we're gonna create like utilities script now. And I'm gonna zoom in. And again, I'm gonna copy most of the stuff, but I can walk through this. So we have, so we initialize the tenth to grab our environmental variables from env file. Oh, I cannot zoom in on this. Interesting. But yeah, so then there is a quick utility to get like account object from Polkadot. And then this is like promise that waits for a certain amount of millisecond. Just another one, keyring kind of utility for Polkadot to pass to transaction creation to Polkadot transaction. This is basic utility that initialize API promise from Polkadot. This is the main kind of API instance that you use to send all the transactions to Polkadot and query Polkadot, things like that. These are very useful utilities to batch send large transactions and not break Kusama like Martin did earlier this year. And yeah, I copied it from there, one of the guys' repo for remote bomber, but basically just sends transactions. So once we have our remark, we will send it as a transaction and sign it with Alice mnemonic. But yeah, I copy it from project to project, and you can just view it when I publish this repo. So now we should have this in utils, right? We have this in utils, and we have this in utils.
Let me just answer real quick. Can we make an MP4 base by Shiba Tails? No, not yet, but feel free to join the hackathon and make an MP4 base. It's just a matter of adding a new base type. It has a type field. If you add MP4 into it and figure out a way to make these MP4s composable on top of each other, you can pretty much be sure that it's going to be merged into the spec if it's generalized enough to be reusable across different projects.
Apparently there is a thing called transparent videos, which I didn't know, that work in web. So I can send you these links and you can overlay multiple videos here. Yeah, you can have transparent background like PNG on video. So this can work. So you can layer them on top of each other.
Oof, someone do this, please.
Yeah, this will be really cool. Changing backgrounds for videos. So yeah. Let's continue. So now we're gonna come to the juicy part of actually creating our base. So first, what we're doing first, let's see, because I did it yesterday just to test that I have everything. Yeah, so let's define chunky items collection. Let's call it chunky items. No walls. And this is going to be the symbol we're going to use, and then we can do chunky itself, which is going to be a chunky collection symbol. Something like this.
Zoom.
Yeah. And And now, so we will use, I'm gonna zoom this more. Yeah, so we create collection ID. Why we create collection ID to create a base is because of this equippable to whitelist. So I want to whitelist. I want to create base first. So before creating items collection, and collection ID is, you can create it before collection is created, and there is no block number involved in there. So I'm gonna create it straight away and pass it to base at the creation. But you can whitelist collection after base is minted. There is special RMRK command for this called equippable. So you can even remove unwhitelist, blacklist, blacklist collection, previously whitelist collection, or whitelist the new ones. But I don't want to send extra remarks, so I'm gonna do it at base creation. So okay, collection ID equal to, what's that? Yeah, so we import collection from RMRK tools, and then it's generate ID. I'm just gonna copy it, not gonna bother typing it by hand. So we pass account of the issuer to it, because it's using, just to make it unique, RMRK tools is using, just to ensure that it's unique, RMRK tools using the account address to create unique collection ID. And this is this chunky items symbol that we just created. We can, yeah, later see how it looks if you want here. And what's next? So now we're actually going to create a base finally. First, let's compile all parts together. So we have the fixed parts that we defined above and the slot parts, and we're passing whitelisted collection to it. So now it will just give us an array of all the parts that we will pass to the base. And then the main thing is we create base. So we import this from RMRK tools. So we need a base symbol here. Let's define a base symbol. You can say chunk base, something like this. No, I'm not gonna bother with vowels. And this is the utility from Polkadot API. So yeah, because when I'm gonna start local node, it will be in Polkadot mode, and the addresses has different format there. So I just converted to Kusama format here just to make sure there is no issues. The type of base is SVG. We don't have any other types for now. And I passed parts here. You can, if you use TypeScript, of course, you can see the types. You can also pass themes here. We're not gonna bother in this demo with the themes, it's a separate topic. And yeah, that's it. We have a base, so now we can mint it. So last part to do is use this of one of Martin's utility to so we use Polkadot API to issue a system remark of so we have this base, or let's call it base entity, because otherwise it looks weird. Base. So the method to no, my son trying to get here. This will just return the string, which looks like, yeah, just remark string with all the encoded JSON that we pass here and all the fields that we need. Then we pass key pairs here as well to send and finalize to sign on behalf of Alice. And this returns block because base ID will be created. When base ID is created, there is a block involved. So until it's included in block, we don't know what will be the base ID. So we need to send it, we need for block to be finalized, and we will have base ID, which we can use later when we add base resource to NFT. So we need to return this block, or we need to know this block when we need to reference the base ID. So okay, the base script is created. I don't think I can just min base. Yeah, I'm gonna just min base to show you. So So I'm gonna start local node, just starts from block 0. And let's create another script called run create base. And we'll just fire this function that we just created. I'm gonna zoom in, Bruno. Just imports and fires. So now, so I'm in the script folder, yeah. Have my scripts here, and I'm gonna use TS node to fire this script. We have our first error, nice. Okay, let's see. I think WebStorm automatic import, yeah, that imported it from a wrong folder. I need to look into that, why it's doing this, but now it's imported from correct folder. So collection ID, you see, it uses part of my account address. We wait for a block finalization. Yeah, it's added to the block 13. And now what we can do, we can fetch and consolidate it. So we can fetch blocks, find remarks in them, and consolidate it using remark tools, and see that our block is indeed in there. So if we go to, because we have remark tools installed, now these two scripts are available in a bin folder. So if we go to node, you cannot see probably, but they're here in node modules bin, they're added here, and we can call them like this directly. So all we need to do now is to call the scripts. What's that? Fetch. So we fetch the prefixes is basically remarks. So we're saying that fetch all remarks in all blocks, starting from block 0, where system remark strings have this hexed word. This translates to just basically remark lowercase and remark uppercase. So it will look for them and filter only by those remarks that starts with this string.
Remember to zoom.
Can you zoom in Telegram? Here, I see. So one thing, so in production, you wouldn't do this. You would never fetch from block 0. It will take you weeks to fetch all blocks from block 0. Kusama started when long time ago. The blocks are large and they're, yeah, basically it's the worst idea. So you should at least, even if you want to start fetching from first remark created, you need to find out when the first remark was created and fetch from there, and do it on some server where you can go to sleep and not be afraid that your computer will shut down and then you will have to start all over again. But we fetched our remarks, and then we manage several crons that fetch and append when new blocks arrive. We check if remarks are there, we append. We keep those dumps in Pinata also. We pin them. They're publicly available. You can use them. we can provide you with links how to use them. So instead of fetching from 0, you can just do this. But also, if you created some new collection and you want to display only this collection, you can just pass the block of from when you started creating this collection. You can say from, and then say, I don't know, yeah, in this case it's 13, right? Because we created base at block 13. And you can pass 2 if you don't want it to fetch until the last known block. But here we can just do from block 0. It's nice and quick because we just started local node with nothing in there. And now we do the same for consolidate. So we're going to consolidate from, yeah, so as you can see, now, yeah, you cannot see actually, but now I cannot zoom in this, but there is now this dump, fetch dump, but it just raw, just raw blocks. It's, yeah, they're hashed and you need to decode them. So consolidator will do this. Nice, and it's now consolidated to this new file. And if I do code reformat, so you can see we don't have any NFTs, we don't have any collections, we have one base created. This is how it's consolidated. There isn't changes, it's when you change, for example, equippable. Yeah, you pass you whitelist new equippable collections, it will log in here. Block is 13, so now we can see also what is interesting is the ID. ID includes the block. We will use this ID later. And all the parts are here, all the parts that we passed. Okay, do not waste time. So the base creation is done. Let's move on to, so next is mint chunkies themselves. The chunky, not the chunky items, but the chunkies. So we can create, how are we on time? We're still good? Chunky, but yes.
Yeah, you still have time.
Okay, in chunky, if we're gonna start running out of time, I'm gonna start just copy pasting code that I wrote before instead of just retyping it.
Zoom.
Yeah, one sec. Okay. Oh, it's interesting. I didn't need to copy prettier. It's wrapping my code as needed. All right. So mint chunky. What's again the same boilerplate we did before of starting some Polkadot APIs, getting key pairs. Now, similar to before, we create collection ID, but this time it's chunky create collection ID. So we use chunky symbol, not the chunky items that we whitelisted on base. So we need to also create. Yeah, I'm gonna start copy pasting. So before we need mint chunky NFT, we need to mint collection because NFT cannot exist without a collection. Any NFT needs to be inside of the collection. So there is some code. Again, boilerplate stuff. Again, create chunky collection. And what we do here, yeah, I need to copy those utilities. We will mint metadata. So we already pinned images to Pinata. And now we need to add those images to the JSON object and pin those JSON objects. And we will get a hash. We will get the Pinata content ID for hold this object, which contains description, external URL, name, and attributes if we need them, and image reference for the collection. And then we will just reference just this metadata hash when creating collection. So I need to copies over some Pinata utilities, and they're here. So this is again something I reuse often. It just uses Pinata API to pin image or object to Pinata and return me content ID. So this would go to assets folder. We have assets folder here in the folder structure, and then it will use this image with the name chunky preview. It will upload this image first to Pinata, although we already have it uploaded. So, but anyway, just to not change much, we will upload it again. Get a content. Maybe you want different image for collection because this would be displayed in a list of all collections. But I'm gonna use the same image that I'm gonna use for preview. Yeah, this one, just a preview of chunky. And yeah, some description. So we mint metadata for collection, and then we create actual collection. So we pass when you create the collection or NFT, because there is no block yet. When you instantiate the instance of this collection constructor, you just pass the block 0 initially. Max is basically unlimited. This is going to be unlimited collection. Yeah, let's make it 10,000 actually, because it might turn into something more real in the future. And yeah, so you pass this is the issuer account, who will be the issuer of collection. And then you pass the symbol of collection, and then ID that we created here above, and metadata content ID, which we create here, which is basically where because we don't want to store big objects with a lot of text. If your description is like, I don't know, 1,000-word description, we don't want to save it in the remarks because it might not fit. Or if it fits, it will be more expensive, and the Gavin will hate us for bloating it. So we save it in IPFS. Once you have the instance of collection, we do similar what we did for base. We send a remark transaction with this command collection create, which will just send this remark. We can see how this remark looks here. Collection creation remark. All right, so that's basically our collection creation. So now we go back here to minting chunky. So we first create the collection. We make sure it's created before we try to mint NFT. And then I have some, so we know here I don't need to write some scripts to traverse through my folders to know how many chunkies we have. I know we have 4 chunkies. So I just hard code it here. Again, for the sake of saving time, I'm not going to type it by hand. So this is the code so we mint chunkies now, 4 chunkies. We iterate through those 4 serial numbers. We first create a metadata, again, similar to collection. We have preview image. We will use the same preview image. The name will be just remark demo chunky NFT, and we're gonna pass this serial number, which is 1, 2, 3, or 4. So names will be in this sequential order, and for the fun sake, we will add also some attributes. So if serial number is less than 3, it's gonna be common, and the 4th one, well, I can just say actually if serial number is 4, then it's epic. Otherwise, it's common. yeah. And so once we have metadata, we pin it to Pinata, and then we can pass it to our NFT instantiation. So again, similar to collection, we instantiate NFT, passing collection ID that we know the ID will be the same. The symbol, we will use the serial number here just to have the unique symbol. It is transferable, so 1 means yes, so it's like a switch, 0 no, 1 is yes. We're working on new remark tool addition that will also allow a number of blocks. So 10 would say it is transferable for 10 blocks after the mint happened. So for example, when we're gonna create some gems, trade some gems, we will say it is transferable for 10 blocks, so we'll mint it, immediately we will send it, and 10 blocks will quickly pass, and then the receiver will not be able to send it further. So consolidator will check the difference in blocks every time to validate send. Serial number, in remark 1, serial number had 16 characters, now it's have 8 characters, so we pad it with 8 zeros. So it's total number of 8, and then serial number. Owner is us, is Alice, and this metadata that we just created. Okay, so, and then we return remark, NFT mint remark. So this, remember, this is all in a loop, in the promises. So this will create in a map, array map that will return basically, so we can say remarks, await, promise all promises. This will return something like write multiple remarks, remark, whatever it is, mint. You got the idea. And there will be 4 of those for each chunky. So now we have 4 chunkies remarks in an array. So we can send the transaction similar to before, but now because it's multiple of them, we create array of system remark transaction by using Polkadot API, and then we use batch because we want to send multiple transaction in one block. Here it's okay to use batch, but in most cases it's preferable, especially working with a remark, it's preferable to use batch all. What it means, batch all means all or nothing. So if one fails in this batch, if one transaction fails, then all fail. But batch will, if some pass, they will pass, and some fail, they will fail. But in some instances with remark, we need all of them to pass, especially when pairing by remark transaction with by balance transfer transaction. They need to be paired together in the same batch all transaction. At this point, chunky will be minted. Chunky and what? And its collection. 4 chunkies in collection. We can, yeah, let's do this now and reconsolidate and see that we indeed have it. So we create new script, run mint chunkies. And mint chunky, it's here. So we still have our Polkadot running. So by the way, because I started the node in dev mode, if I stop this, all the blocks will be reset to 0 and all our base will not be there anymore. Okay, so we send, I'm in run folder. So we send run mint chunky. It's done. So we refetch blocks because now there is new blocks on the chain. We need to fetch those blocks, and now we need to reconsolidate. And now let's see how our dump looks So if I'm gonna reformat code, oh, something went wrong, I think. Or maybe not. Nothing changed. I might need to remove this, yeah, because I'm not using append. So I need to remove this fetched block dump and refetch again. And now still nothing. Maybe I didn't wait. Did I wait for Chunky's? Yeah, Chunky didn't mint. There was no console log output. Okay, all good. Let's see why Chunky didn't mint. Mint Chunky, yeah, because I never called the function. Okay, makes sense. Now we're gonna mint Chunkies. First, it's minting collections. We see the metadata is pinned to Pinata, and now it's creating a collection first. Oops. I opened kombucha, but it was too fizzy.
Party.
It's like this now. Okay, so yeah, we see there's four metadata for each chunky. It's pinned to Pinata. Okay, chunky minted, block 209. I didn't do exit, so the process doesn't look like it's finished, but it's finished. And I can refetch and reconsolidate. And now we should have it. Yeah, we have it. So format code, zoom in. Now we have NFTs. We have Chunky. You see NFT ID also has a block number in it. So it has no children, no resources. It has a collection, the symbol. It points to metadata. We can use our Pinata gateway, IPFS gateway to verify. So yeah, it's pinned. It's on a on IPFS. True. So yeah, so root owner and owner is the same because not yeah. I'll explain to you once we mint the children what's root owner. Yeah, that's it. We have 4 of them. Serial number here, correct, and we have our collection. Cool. Max 10,000, which is cool. Everything as it should be. Now we need to add base resource to each of those chunkies. So we're gonna go to our min chunky file and copy this utility again. I'm just gonna copy it, which is like adding base resource, the boilerplate. Again, we know the chunky collection symbol, so we create the ID again. We know the serial numbers. What's that? You see the order. In my test, I created base here. Why? Because I wanted to. All I did was to create a new instance to get base ID. But we can cheat. We already know the base ID. We can just hard code it. So you don't need this. We can just const base block base ID. All right, so we have base ID. So we iterate through again the same for serial numbers. And here, yeah, so this function expects us to pass chunky the block of when the chunky NFT were created. This is to construct the ID again. We can construct it a different way. We can just use like template literal, you know, like chunky block, and then whatever is next. The idea of NFT consists of different parts, which is serial number, and there is like a symbol, etc. But we will instantiate, right, the instance of NFT, and then use one of the method, which is get ID. No, actually, no, forget. We do this because we need to fire the resource add method on it. So yeah, so we need to reinstantiate the NFT here. So we already have those NFTs minted, but we instantiated with the block it was created in to later to add resource to it. So here, resource remarks. Where is the resources coming from? Yeah, so we create empty array. This is where we're gonna push the remarks in a loop. So because this is in a loop of 4 serial numbers, we push to this remarks array the 4 remarks that we will be sending to with a transaction. So we use on NFT that you import from remark tools. You have a method called resource add, and you pass some of the properties of the resource to it. One is base ID. So we need to reference base ID that should already be created by this point and on chain. And then we just generate random 8 character long ID using this handy utility. You can type your own if you want, random 8 character ID. And so now we cherry pick 3 fixed parts, which is body, head, and hand, by their serial number. Remember that we have this folder structure, chunky items. No, not chunky items. These chunky parts are in V1, V2, V3 folder. So we have 4 variations, and then they have the same name, but V1 here, V2, 3, etc. So we can just use this and the parts ID when we created base, the part ID. So here we reference the part ID actually. So we need to pick those parts from the base. So we pick the parts with the serial number suffix related to this iteration. And a thumbnail. So yeah, because we don't want to use the SVG composer because it's heavy on all pages. For example, in a list of for example, on a list or in inventory, you don't want to compose this. If you have 100 of parts, you want to SVG compose. So we need some kind of thumbnail. So you can also, this is optional field. You can also reference a thumbnail that is stored on IPFS here, and in some cases on the UI display this thumbnail instead of composing the base part. And here also, just for the fun of it, we need to add the secondary art to 1. So if serial number, let's add to the last chunky, we add the secondary art. It's 4. We also do NFT right set. Here, this is not a base type, so we just reference So you just reference the path to secondary art, which is this one, chunky alt resource. And we don't have a thumbnail for this, so we'll use the same for the thumbnail. And you need also the ID, which is again the randomly generated using non-ID. And do we need anything else? Don't think so. Let's see what else is on resource. The resource parts, we don't need it. Slot, we don't need it. For secondary art, yeah, that's it. That's all we need for this resource. So for chunky, we'll have secondary resource. And just for the fun of it also, let's immediately switch to this resource. So we can, there is the command on NFT, which is called priority, set priority. So we need this const secondary art resource ID. This non-ID we referenced here, and this accepts what? So we need to also have this resource here. So const base ID, base res ID. So we then, when you change the priority, you pass the whole array of priority. So it's in order of array, in the same order that the items are on in the array, in the same order, you will display your resources. So the first one is the primary resource. So in this case, we want for chunky 4, we want the secondary art to be resource ID to be the primary resource ID and the base second. And for the others, you don't need to do set priority, because when you add the first resource, the priority array is set automatically with just one item. All right, so this is the resource add. Remember, we need to pass the chunky block here. So let's create another script called run chunky resource add resource. What's the name of this? Okay. So we call it, and we need to pass the. So again, I will cheat. Sometimes, if you do the proper script, you want to do it in order. So you do multiple scripts, and then one returning the block number, and then you pass it to the next one. But in this case, I'm just gonna copy the chunky block number from consolidated dump. So we know the chunkies were minted all on a block 209. So we pass it here. So now we can call this script. Run chunky. Okay. So we're gonna add resources to chunkies. How much time? How much time do we have? Like 20 minutes until 7:30?
Yep. And
Okay.
50-minute cutoff before Crowdcast closes us.
Okay. Okay, so we fetch and reconsolidate just to verify that now we have our resources. Let's see. And we do indeed. So we have now each chunky has a resource of type base. with the correct parts. So chunky one have all the. We could mix those. So for example, chunky could have chunky body 2, but chunky head 3. But for this demo, I just did it in this order. And let's see that chunky 4 has the secondary resource. It doesn't. Let's see, the consolidator should have, no, those. This is interesting. It doesn't? Or it does? No, it doesn't. Let's see why. So we did. Wait, I didn't push it to. I didn't push it to array of remarks. Of course, and I didn't push this to array of remarks. But now we don't need to do this anymore. We don't want to add another base. So and now we need to hard code because base is already added. If we will do this, it will regenerate new ID. So let's hard code. Now each of them have different base resource ID. This is tricky. Okay, let's just cheat and hard code. Const base as IDs in the order. It's not ideal. In real world example, you would fetch from consolidated dump and then process it and get the IDs if you did this mistake. And then fourth base resource ID is this. So we have all 4, and now we just need to push. Yeah, I forgot to say push. Here also push. So now we use base IDs with the serial number -1. Arrays are 0 based. Okay, so this should, I hope this should do it. If we run the script again, it should add secondary art only to the 4th. Yeah, actually, why I didn't need to do this, because I'm only adding it to the 4th. So I could hard code the 4th resource ID here, yeah. But too late now. Over engineering. Okay, this is added, we refetch, we reconsolidate, and let's hope our chunky number 4, no, wrong, has the correct secondary resource now. And yeah, it does. Cool. So we have a secondary art here and priority. Let's check priority. Yes. So the ID of secondary art is the first in the array of priority. So this is the primary resource. So UIs can now handle it properly by displaying the secondary resource, the secondary art, this resource instead of the base resource. All right, so we have base, we have chunky collection, we have chunky items collection. No, we don't have chunky items collection, but we have all the chunkies. So now we can, if we want, we already can write a UI to display a chunky with all the parts overlaid and SVG composer. But it won't have items. We don't have nested NFTs, so it doesn't have any children. So let's try to quickly add children to it. This is the last script we need. Mint chunky items. And I will copy the code and then just walk through this quickly to speed things up. Mint items. So let's see, what do we have in here? I'm gonna zoom in. Zoom in. So we start with, we just hard code for the sake of this demo all the chunky item descriptions to not write some scripts for this to generate it on the fly. So there's flag, there's pencil, there is bone. So yeah, so there's just some helper. What do we have here? So we have some helper array here that we will use below. And so we mint items. Again, the same boilerplate. We create collection ID by using this item symbol. Yeah, it's the same symbol the same ID that we added as a whitelisted equippable array on base. So this collection can already be used to equip it in a base parts of the type slot. If this is not very mind-bending sequence of events. So here we iterate through this array that I defined here. There's 4 items. We have 4 items: spare, pencil, flag, and bone. Yeah. So we iterate through each of those objects. We create a serial number, which is like this array index plus 1, because yeah, it starts from 0, obviously. Again, we pin the metadata for each. We take those name and what else? Name and thumbnail, passing to the same utility I have that will repin again the same asset. Although we don't need to do it. I already mentioned this. It's kind of mistake because we pinned whole folder. We could just reference hardcode the images, but I'm not going to change it now. And yeah, there is a description and external URL. So we mint metadata. We get back the metadata ID. We initialize new NFT for each item. It's referencing it's inside of collection ID of the items, chunky items, not the same collection that the chunkies are, but a separate collection, chunky items. And again, the same thing. We add serial number symbol, which is defined here, chunky spare, chunky pencil, etc. Now we have NFT, and we just return the mint remark. So we have array of 4 remarks for each item, and again the same. We send it. We send the transaction, and the items will be minted. But we don't want to stop here. Once it's minted, and we get the block back of where the items were created, we immediately in the same script we will add resources to them because they're naked. They don't have any resource, and each item, because these are items that go in hand, they need 2 resources for a slot called left hand and for slot called right hand. So each of those nested NFT items can be equipped in 2 different base slots, and so they have 2 different resources, each targeting different slot on the base of the parent ID. Remember, on the base we have these 2 part slots, right? Where is it? On the base we have fixed parts, and then at the bottom we have 2 slot parts, one for object left and one for object right. Right, let's go back. Mint chunky items, yeah. Okay, so now that chunky items are minted, but without resource, we start adding resources to them. We use the same array that I created above to iterate through, and again, we initialize like an NFT instance. Now with a block that is returned once we send the transaction, we know the chunky items are created in this block. We need to have this block to call any other method but mint, only mint is okay with block 0, but the rest need to know exactly the block, because the remark tools will extract its ID to send resource to the correct NFT. So it needs to know the block. Okay, but the rest is the same as above. And now that we have this NFT for each chunky item, we call resource add. So in this array we have this resource array for that referencing that has two asset name, the file names that are stored on IPFS, one for left, one for right. So then we iterate through this resources array, which is 2 items, for each NFT. And so we add 2 resources to each item, one for left hand and one for right. And then and then if it's if the resource has a left in its string, we make sure. So this is another optional field when you do resource add in resource. Remember when we added secondary art, we just specify 3 fields. But if you add a resource that's supposed to target the slot of the base, then there is another option field called slot, where you put your base slot. Base slot is a combination of base ID and slot ID on a base, because potentially it can target multiple different bases. The same NFT can be equipped in multiple different bases, so we need to reference base ID. But I just copy pasted it, so this block number is probably incorrect. So we need to go and check what block was base created, and it was created in block 13. So we need to make sure this is referencing correct base ID, and this is the base part ID of the type slot. Okay, so far so good. Once we added all the resources, we need to send those items to the bird. Again, this is wrong. We need to check what block our chunkies were minted at, and they were like, they were minted at block 209. And so like this. So we could do this differently. We could initialize the NFT for each bird and then use like NFT.getID here, which would give us this ID. But for this example, I'm just going to construct the string, because I know I have consolidator and I know the pattern for the string. So we send each item, once the resource is added, we send each item to the corresponding chunky NFT. Then it will become the child of this chunky. And we're also gonna equip it at the same time. Again, this is wrong, base ID. We will say now that you're the child of this NFT, equip it, send command to equip it. And just for fun, every odd will be equipped in left hand, every even in right hand. So that's it. We can send all this in the same batch. So we minted in a separate batch, minted the items. Then in the next batch, we added resources to them. We send them to the birds and we equip them. If the Alice weren't owner of all this, both items and chunkies, if you send the child NFT to the parent, it would have the pending status field called with the value of pending true, and you wouldn't be able to equip it because you cannot equip on a pending, because I sent item to non-own bird, right? So we don't want someone to send like 1,000 dick pics or something to my Kanaria bird, someone I don't know. So only the owner can send the item to the parent, an NFT to the parent, and it will be immediately accepted. If you're not the owner of both, then the status will be pending, and on UI we can kind of hide them and show them in different UI where you can accept or later reject. Currently there is no reject command. But basically, yeah, only because Alice is owner of all of this works nicely. We can send and we can equip also. Yeah, similar thing about pending true. Similar thing is resources. I can suggest new resource. I can add secondary or tertiary resource to. 1 second. No, I can send extra resource to the NFT, but if I don't own it, the status of it will be pending. But because I own it and I add the secondary resource, it's accepted immediately. Okay, so and then we send this batch, right, of those resadd, send, equip. So we have 2 batches in this script, which will mint items and add resources to them.
So let me answer just real quick. Is it possible to add new slots at a later time? It is not. A base is immutable, so you should know which slots and parts you want on a base ahead of time.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot to when I minted items, but I didn't create a collection for the items. So it's here. The code is here, and that means I need to call it before everything else. So I'll do this, for example, here. Right, so we are ready. We're gonna create another script, run mint items.ts. Okay, now the moment of truth, if this is gonna work right off the bat. Creating collection first. Okay, while it's doing it, I will start. Wow, we don't have time. I wanted to build a quick remark app to display this. Actually, I'm gonna copy the code completely from that I wrote before and show you the chunkies. Let's wait for. Okay, we don't have to wait. So I need to close this because I'm only opening here one folder, but I need the demo folder that we created. Yeah, WebStorm. So we create another folder called it's slow. Oh, it's froze. Nice. It's indexing probably. Let's wait a bit. Yeah, so Chunky is ready. While WebStorm is choking. Yeah, it froze. Nice. We can fetch and reconsolidate this. Meanwhile, let's open WebStorm again. Okay, and now we can inspect this consolidated dump with resources and items. Let's see. We format code. I zoom in, and yeah, we have a children now. So each chunky has a child. This one has a bone and it's equipped already. It's already equipped in this base, this slot, right hand. This one has a flag in left hand, etc. So it's all good, great. And we have all these children. This is just reference to children. Those children are also high level NFTs as well. So you see the bone is just on the same level as Chunky, and it has you see it even has a change log of it was sent to new owner. It has two resources that we needed, one for left hand, one for right hand. And yeah, everything looks good. Now we're ready for the React demo. So I have a folder called RMRK. Wait, where am I? RMRK demo. Yeah. This is simple Next.js app. I'm gonna open it now. Simple Next.js app. And what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna copy content of this consolidated file and just hard code it. So for this demo, I'm not gonna go into indexing and how we make sure that dump is updated in real time and we can have access to it at all time. This is for another, maybe next Monday. I can do the part 2 about managing incoming remarks in real time. For this demo, I'm just gonna use this hard-coded dump, consolidated dump. So I paste it in my remark app under public folder so I can fetch it. And then I have a simple page here where I have this function, zoom. So I simply, this is fine. I need to restart it. It didn't pick up the TypeScript. I need to copy TypeScript file here, but it doesn't matter. I can copy it later. But if I restart WebStorm, this will go away. Sometimes when I just copy folder, it doesn't pick it up. But I fetch the dump with all my remarks, NFTs, and yeah, and then I can return it, and I have those NFTs. So yeah, I fetch them here using React hook. I have my NFTs and I iterate through each. And I render them. I use this SVG resource composer, which is modified component from the one we use on Kanaria, which basically takes NFT, finds its resources, children, and then fetches corresponding base. And then based on all this information, it renders the SVG, because we know this is SVG type base. Renders this nested SVG. You see each part, I'm gonna zoom. Each part is like nested SVG inside of the SVG. And then they are layered and sorted according to the Z index set. So we can get the final picture. We fetch inventory here and with the fixed resources first. And we fetch inventory, which is the nested NFTs. And then once we have both, we compile the final parts array sorted by Z property and pass it to, and render them in a loop. This is all will be published, so you can inspect the code or copy it as you will. And let's try to fire it. So I don't know if it's gonna work. No, it didn't work. Why? Because it doesn't have package JSON. Strange that it didn't copy it. Let's see. is missing? Yeah, 2 files are missing. Yeah, TypeScript config file and the package.json. Okay, so let's reinstall. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. Yeah, so it's this one. Paste it, overwrite it. So yeah, this is like Next.js basic stuff. We install all the dependencies, and now we can open it in the browser. Let's see if we have our chunkies or there is some issue as we usually have. Oh no, they work. Yay, but they don't have items for some reason. And we will find out why. But yeah, let's quickly, so we can inspect them. So these are, you cannot see, right? Yeah, but there is like stacked SVGs here. I can zoom in, nice. We can zoom in here too. So there's parent SVG, and then there's body, hands, and head. So now let's find out why items didn't work. The item. Okay, let me just look at this function which fetches inventory. Doesn't exist? Is it the reason? Oh no, there it is. Okay, so if I can spot something weird, equip children. Let's see. Yeah, I know where. Yeah. Okay, I was testing something, and now it should work. Yeah. So now we fetched items, and yeah, each one of them have the item equipped, and it's displayed. So if we check this SVG stack for items, it should be right after the body. Yeah, so the body is first, then the item, because yeah, this is sorted by Z field, and then the hands overlay, and then the head. So there we have it. And next demo, probably next Monday, I can show you the real-time remarks, how we can call equip and unequip. Actually, you know what? The secondary resource didn't show, but I think in this React app, I don't have a code to make sure we sort resources by priority. Yeah, that's right. I need to write util to make sure that if the priority is different. Here I just grab base. I assume that base is the main line, but next time we can display the secondary resource. And yeah, next time I can show you how we can send remark from client, sign, and catch it on some kind of simple database. We can see that new blocks arrive by subscribing to Polkadot API. When the new block arrive, we can use Remark Tools utilities to see if remarks are inside of this block. If there are and they're valid, we're gonna consolidate them against the existing dump. If everything is valid, we're gonna update our database, and the client then refreshes based on new data and displays the updated NFTs. So if we unequip spare, it will disappear in real time. So this is something we can try for next demo. But to mint nested NFTs with children and with multiple, with the new entity called base of type SVG, where you can have multiple fixed parts composable into a single SVG, then I think this demo achieved that. And let me check the questions, and I'm gonna stop sharing. There are any fun questions there? Let's see. When so yeah, Uncle Rich already replied. What's CLI theme? Yeah, I use iTerm too. I think it's solarized. Where is the themes? I think it's solarized colors. Somewhere it's solarized, probably solarized to dark or something like this. I can post it here later. And then I have some things like it shows me the branch. There is some scripts I found online that you add to your Bash profile. What is call to action for developers after the presentation that RMRK team wants to achieve? Thanks. So one is so because this is going to be a published repo, you can reference it when participating in hackathon. So this can help you. Help you understand how the NFTs are structured, base part, the Kanaria, how it's structured, or if you wish, you can create new NFTs this way, and either on a test node, or on local node, or on live node, even if you're brave. Then what else? You can reference the SVG composer here. You can understand how the SVG composer works on Kanaria. To be able to build your own dressing room, for example, you can use this without sending a quick transaction. You can just, in real time, using React state management, any state management, to just change the equippable items in the memory, and then you refresh, they revert back. So you can. This is already a prerequisite for dressing room, and also this is something to, if you like what you see, and there's a lot of bad things about remarks, that they're not scalable because there's just strings and you need to fetch them and consolidate always. You cannot query a single NFT. That's why we want to move to on-chain logic. For this, we need some help, not just for on-chain logic, but we need help on front-end also, so we can focus on on-chain logic. Or if you know on-chain, something about on-chain, either Solidity or Ink or Rust for palettes, then of course we want to hear from you also. But the gist of it is we are hiring. Whatever, if you can do similar to what I was doing, or something that will help us to move RMRK to on-chain, then we want to hear from you. Again, I shared this in the beginning. There is the link. Apply, even if you're not 100% sure. We can filter you out, and don't get too upset. We will filter, but we have high standards. But we will reply to you at least why no, and we can maybe even agree on some half term or some help. If you're not, you don't have to be perfect, as long as you have passion and interest to learn. This is the main important skill that we're looking. Okay, how can you remove an NFT and collection via code app? Yeah, so there is a simple command called burn collection. At the moment, collection doesn't have burn, any way to burn, but NFT. So once you have the NFT instance, right? So you have NFT. You can do an NFT burn, and you can also batch it with the reason. It's recommended to batch it with reason. I don't know if we have examples somewhere, but on request I can show you. So you do batch all, and then you send another remark with simple string that will be used as a reason for a burn. This is just to understand why you burn. Is it either you just don't like it, or, for example, X that were when you hash the X, you actually were burning them, and then there is just a string next to it saying consume hash. Yeah, and then we know that this is not just burned NFT, this hash the egg. There is other use cases where you can do it. So yeah, you just do this, and then you send it as a transaction, as a remark transaction. and it will be burned. It's not actually destroyed, it will still be there, but one field will be different, which is burned will be true, or something like this. Burned will equal to reason. Yeah, the string will be reason instead of false. And we just filter them on the UI, so you can never completely remove it. It will always be there. We can just filter them. So I think I answered all. So if there is no more questions, then feel free to ask any question in Telegram. We have Telegram. I'm gonna paste link here. You can come back and see. For implementators, we have Discord, RMRK server with developers channel. What else? Tomorrow I will publish this code as a repo, so you can review and play with it, fork it, whatever. Oh, thanks, Bruno. I posted the link to Telegram. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions offline, online, but not in Crowdcast.
Awesome. Thank you, Yuri. See ya.
Yeah, bye-bye.